Screw plan B. Yeah, but what happens if plan A blows up? Then you fix it. There is no plan B. There was a Spanish conquistador, Cortés, and he sailed to a new land, and that new land back then in the 1500s was what we know as Mexico. And he landed there, with something like 600-ish men. And Mexico had a population, or it was the Aztecs back then, had a population of 5 million. Yet Cortés made his establishment and conquered the land. Now, how did he do that? He did that because there was no plan B. Cortés, as the story goes, burned his ships. His men came onto land. They hike up to the cliff. They look over the side. And what do they see? But their ships on fire, burning in the harbor. They can't go back. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine now we either move forward and we're successful, or we literally perish and die? There is no in between. There is no plan B. What's that look like in our real lives? Again, back then, I didn't even know it was burn the ships until I heard this story and I started connecting the dots. But when I was in PD, I burned the ships when I went to the fire department. There was no going back. If I went to the fire department and I didn't like it for whatever reason, if it didn't resonate with me, if I found that I would have rather been a police officer, there was no plan B. There was no going back. I had a new career, completely new career. No plan B. I did that again when I went from fireman to lieutenant. Right? Now there could be a plan B. The plan B would be to stay a fireman. But for me, there was no plan B. I wasn't thinking that way. Because for me, that promotion meant that I would be able to spend much more time at home with my children and be part of their lives. Because with that promotion came a pay raise. And essentially that pay raise meant that I was a fireman on overtime. So I didn't have to work the overtime. Every time I came to work, I essentially was on overtime. That's how I viewed it. So that allowed me to spend so much more time with my kids. So much more time attending baseball games and football games and dance recitals and gymnastics. How cool is that? The other part of me becoming a lieutenant was, you have to remember, I had no time in the job. So guys would support me, but I don't know how much confidence they had in me. When I got out of the academy and I went into the firehouse, I went to a very slow firehouse. Great group of guys that they would teach me the job. It was a great group of guys, but we didn't go to many fires. I didn't gain a lot of experience. So I had a lieutenant that would help me out. He would teach me. And he would say to me, listen, if you pass this test, I will make sure that you get transferred out of this house. He'll make phone calls and explain the situation. Because nobody's going to listen to a probie. They will listen to a boss. And that's exactly what happened. But that was another incentive for me to completely burn the ships. For me to be all in on getting promoted. Because as a probie, you want to go somewhere busy. Not everybody can. And I turned out to be one of those guys that didn't. But as a probie, you want to go to fires. You want to learn the job. In the fire department, from probie to chief of the department, the number one spot in the fire department is the nozzleman. Everybody wants to be on the nozzle because that's the guy that puts the fire out. So, how do you get somewhere busy? Well, this lieutenant was going to make phone calls, and I didn't know what that really meant, but I just knew that I was going to go somewhere more busy. So I had to burn the ships. What's burning the ships look like in that scenario? I was fully committed. Burn the ships just means 100% fully committed. I'm not thinking about, if I fail, what am I going to do? If I fail, I figure it out. If I fail, if my plan A blows up, then I figure it out. But there is no plan B. You are all in, 100% committed. For me, it looked like I would seek out advice from those that are already bosses, captains, lieutenants, chiefs, and I would talk to them and I would ask them and I would get their information. This 15,000 pages, I had 3 months to study. I just came into it at the right time because I had prior city experience. So here I am sitting for the lieutenant's exam, and I have 3 months to study 15,000 pages. How the hell am I going to do that? I seeked out individuals and I asked for their guidance. I studied very specific things. A chief is 3 ranks ahead of me, right? Lieutenant, captain, chief. He took 3 promotional exams. He knows those books inside and out. He knows kind of what they're going to ask on the exam. You never know what they're going to ask. But if you take 3 and 4 exams, you get a feel for where the people that design Department of Personnel, it's a different department. Like the fire department doesn't make the promotional exam. The city makes the promotional exam. So there's no crossover. You have no clue what the exam's going to look like. But you have an idea because you took 3 of them. He said, go to this Fire Tech. Fire Tech was a company that was ran by the people that would be at the top of the prior list. So when you took the exam, you would pass the exam, you'd go on a list, right? 1 to 1,000. The guys that scored, and they were first on the list, second on the list, like the top 3, top 5 guys, over the course of time, over the course of many different exams, they would be the guys that would be teaching you at Fire Tech. So I sought out those individuals and said, listen, I'm sitting at Fire Tech, I'm listening to them, they're telling me this is what you should be paying attention to. This is what we've seen in the past, studying past exams. This is what we see. So I did that. I went out into the field and I literally saw what they were talking about so I could envision in my head. If I was reading about brownstones, I would go to my captain, and my captain, I would say, listen, is there a brownstone around here we can go look at? And on drill, he would be supportive and say, yes, on drill, we'll go look at a brownstone. Where he could have said, tonight's drill topic is forcible entry. We're not going to. But they didn't do that. I had really good bosses that really supported me. And they supported me because I was all in. When you're all in on something, there's just a personality. There's an attitude that you have. There's just a way about you. People can see that energy. And that's why they help you. They help you because of that energy. You're emitting so much energy, so much determination, so much decision, so much confidence. This is what I'm doing. That they want to see you win. People want to see you win. And we all have the capacity to burn the ships. Whatever our ship is, whatever's that one thing holding us back, is it a regret that we have to burn? Is it guilt that we have to burn? Is it a bad habit that we have to burn? Whatever that is, we have the ability to burn it. We have the ability to make a decisive decision and say, this is the direction we're going in. I'm going there. Will you follow me? It's a mindset. Nothing's going to stop me. I may hit a brick wall that's 20 feet tall and 3 miles long. I guess I'm going to put my hiking shoes on, or I'm going to get my grappling rope out. And I'm going to either scale that wall, or I'm going to walk around it. Or maybe I get my sledgehammer out and I break through it. Maybe I build a team of 30 individuals and we just make a human ladder to get up the wall. Like get creative. Figure it out. There is no plan B. Plan A is, I got to get to the other side of that wall. We're going to figure it out. It's a mindset. When I got my black belt, that test was very physical. And I spoke to other individuals that went through the fire prior to me. And one guy said to me, for my test, it was very simple. I was going in there and I was coming out in one of two ways. I was coming out with my black belt or I was coming out on a stretcher. That's it. There was no other alternative. There was no plan B. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty deep. But I adopted that mindset. I knew that day exactly what the outcome was going to be. And it was going to be one of two. And I was going to deal with both of them. And it was going to be okay. No plan B. Forging straight ahead. Being that locomotive, screaming down that track, blasting through those obstructions. Because they're going to come. It's not like plan A is all beautiful and everything's going to work out. No, plan A means that it's going to blow up. And when it does blow up, I'm just going to pivot. I'm going to figure it out. My preschool, great example of my preschool. I went out there all in. Like, I only had a plan A. My plan A was I took out a mortgage on my house. A second mortgage on my house to start the business. And the business started as a mommy and me where parents came together and just hung out together, and then the kids would socialize together. And it was a place so that moms could just come and relax and get adult conversation. All the moms out there know what I'm talking about, because you're home with the kid 24/7 and your head is just exploding. You just want 5 minutes to think to yourself. My wife used to say, I would just take a shower just to have 5 minutes to myself. So we wanted to give something to all the moms out there. And that was the mommy and me that we set up. And then we started listening. First, the mommy and me wasn't bringing in enough revenue. So we started offering different programs. Then we started listening to the clientele. And the clientele said, we want a preschool. We want to be able to drop our kids off and leave. So we had to go out and find out how to make that happen. And it was DHS and license from the state. And we had to go back to the township and ask them for permission because we're changing our conditional use license. It was all of this stuff. And we had no clue. We're just a mom and a dad. 2 little kids. We didn't know what we were doing back then. But the one thing we did have was we weren't going to fail. We were going to move forward regardless of what it took. And sometimes it was a tiny step. Sometimes it was a big leap. Sometimes we got knocked down. It's kind of like a football game, right? Like sometimes you make 15 yards, then sometimes the quarterback gets sacked and you lose 10 yards. That's life. But there is no plan B. In this, I was just thinking about something. That pause was me just thinking about something. I've been battling with, I want to drop weight. So right here, right now, I'm going to burn the ships. I'm going to burn the ships and say that I'm going to drop 10 pounds. I'm going to be at 165 pounds in the next 3 months. I'm going to drop that weight. And I'm going to do everything I have to do. What's that look like? Real life example here, right off the fly. I'm going to drop my alcohol consumption. I have a big problem with potato chips. I'm going to drop potato chips. I'm going to clear my cupboard out. Burn the ships, clear the cupboard out of all of that junk food. I'm going to start drinking more water. That's my burning the ships. There is no plan B. If I get to such a state where I'm really having problems, I'll seek out a nutritionist. But in 3 months, I will have dropped 10 pounds. Doesn't sound like that much, right? 10 pounds? You're burning the ships on 10 pounds? Doesn't sound like that much. But it's my burning the ships right here in the moment. So what are you going to burn? I'm going to challenge you to join me on my journey of burning my ships and controlling my weight. What are you going to go out there and take on? What are you going to make the decision to absolutely achieve? And I don't care if it's something monumental or something tiny. But what is it that you're going to do? Because when you burn the ships, when you do not have a plan B and you only have a plan A, when you start hitting those obstacles, you get very creative. If you start thinking about how you're going to perish, that's the story you're telling yourself. I'm going to perish if I don't complete this. Then you start getting obsessive. There's a ripple effect that happens. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to talk to 100,000 people until I figure it out, but I'm going to figure it out. So what are you going to burn the ships on? What is it? For me, I'm going to end this video right now and I'm going to go clean out my cupboard. And I'm going to drop those 10 pounds. I hope you come along with me. Guys, around here, we live up here in the numerator, not down in the denominator. Go out there today and be unstoppable and crush your day. No plan B. I love spending time with you. Have a very blessed day.